Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We come to you this Friday morning, Football Friday for week number 10, on the Mike Francesa channel on the Bet Rivers Network on YouTube after a game that some people thought was the game of the year last night. It was obviously an offensive showcase for both quarterbacks and a game that ended again in utter embarrassment for the NFL, which has to be behind closed doors. And we all know the commissioner has a temper. We all know that he gets very angry when things go badly. He has to be rip roaring mad because how many of his games, especially primetime games, have ended with colossal blunders? Last night, you have a game where Cincinnati, as you all know, goes for a 2-point conversion. Which I expected on that last drive because they obviously had been exhausted on defense, and Baltimore was scoring at will in the fourth quarter. So I wasn't surprised by that at all, especially the way Burrow had shredded them all night to the tune that he did for 428 yards. Um, but there were not one but two blatant fouls on the 2-point conversion. Gesicki got absolutely walloped. I mean, he wasn't only held, he was knocked sideways. It was flagrant. And then the quarterback gets hit across the face. A clear infraction. Not as blatant as the Donald one, which was embarrassing, but equally embarrassing. And you have the broadcaster slash official in the booth who is saying, hey, not one, but two flags, obvious penalties on the play, neither called. And this is something that's become commonplace in the NFL. You're almost starting to expect it. And you know what I hear all the time? Oh, of course, the games are fixed. That's what the league has to deal with. The idea that they think this isn't on the level when they see this garbage. The officiating has to be better. Or you're going to have to put electronic mechanisms in place that allow you to fix these things because it's embarrassing for the league and it smacks against their integrity right and left. When you see a player grab his helmet on both sides, as was the case on the face mask against Sam Darnold, where the player is admitting his infraction in front of the country and it's not called. And then last night, you see two blatant penalties on the play. Everyone in America who watched the game saw it. And neither one is called. This garbage cannot continue. You cannot demand a certain level of play and performance out of your players and then have the officiating be this bad. I mean, it's got to improve. This league has every advantage. It has an abundance, an embarrassment of riches, and it cannot straighten out its officiating. And you know, behind closed doors, they're buzzing this morning. Owners are on the phone. You know, officials are on the phone. You know that NFL officials are on the phone, and they're all saying the same thing. How do we fix this officiating? Because it is intolerable right now, and it's got to get better. And last night, Cincinnati sits there now at 4-6 instead of maybe 5-5 because the league cannot get the officiating correct. And I'm not saying they would have won or would have moved the ball up. They would have got a penalty. But the bottom line is you can't end the game when the defense commits two blatant fouls on the play. It's got to stop. Last night, of course, it was a very strange game. I mean, Baltimore is a very talented team, but their defense has not made the strides that it has to make in the second half of this season for them to have a chance. They are not going to beat a good team with this defense. And if you think you can ride an offense to the Super Bowl, you know it won't happen. You'll get picked off along the way. And their defense right now stinks. Last night, Burrow, 34 of 56 for 428. Chase puts on a display, 11 for 264 and 3 touchdowns. When do you see a receiver 11 for 264 and 3 touchdowns? And this game is 21-7. And they're booing the Ravens off the field in the first half because of their offensive ineptitude. And they come out in the second half and they get into a run after 21-7 where, you get the first Lamar Jackson run down to the 1-yard line and after the turnover. So it's 21-7 and Cincinnati has the ball. Brown fumbles at 21-7 with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. He tiptoes down to the 1-yard line, sticks it in the end zone. Now it's 21-14. They make a bad defensive play and blow that 84-yarder down the sideline. Now it's 21 up, and away we go. The Raven quarterback who is looking for another MVP, and right now he's right there. 197 yards and 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. 197 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And they were scoring at will at the end of the game. That's why I think Cincinnati made the right call going for 2. Tampa should have gone for 2 against Kansas City. They weren't going to stop them. And they weren't going to stop the Ravens last night. Ravens are now 7-3. They're the number 1 offense in the league. They are the 29th ranked defense. That's how bad it is. And they have just been sieve-like. And last night they give up 34 points in the win. But they won. Cincinnati lost. Cincinnati's obviously not happy. Buys this week for the Packers, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Seahawks for Week 10. The Giants will play in Munich. The NFL exports a product. Is that what they really want to export? Cincinnati, the Giants and the Panthers. And remember this. Panthers won last week, and it got Dennis Allen fired. Dable better be careful. The Giants cannot go to Munich, and they're bad. But the Panthers are the worst team in the league. And you cannot, if you're the Giants, go to Munich and lose that game. They have to win that game. Slayton is in concussion protocol. He's not making the trip. The Giants have to be better than the Panthers. If they fall to the Panthers, it would not be a healthy situation. Even though ownership has given their word about next year, it would not be a good sign to fall to the Panthers. It really wouldn't. This again, the Giants have to win. They're 6.5-point favorites on a neutral field. So it shows you how bad the Panthers are. Because imagine the Giants being 6.5-point favorites over anybody. That's what it was this morning. Let me just see if double check that, make sure it didn't move overnight or something. But I don't think it did. Giants, 6.5-point favorites. Hey, they have to win this game and win it soundly against a Panther team that just is not very good. Either the Giants, but Panthers are worse. Jets will be in Arizona against an Arizona team that has won 3 in a row, that is 5-4. The Jets, they're talking the talk. They're acting like they can go about their business and get on a real roll here after their win against Houston. Let's see it. Like I said, talk to me when they're 6-6. They're 3-6 right now. Talk to me when they're 6-6. They will go into this game. They don't have Lazard. Williams is traded to the Steelers. He was very unhappy here anyway. So they have to elevate a third receiver behind the big 2. You would think Hall would get more catches. You think the tight ends would get more catches. Jets also may be playing with backup tackles at guard because they're banged up on the offensive line. So watch that too. This is a game the Jets have to win. Just shows you the Jets have been favored in almost all these games. They're favored this week against 5-4 Arizona. They're on the road at 3-6. When do you see a 3-6 team favored against a 5-4 team that's home? Got one this week. Jets are favored by 1.5 over the over Arizona, which is obviously up and down. And I think the Jets have a better team. That doesn't mean the Jets are going to play better because we know the Jets can disappoint as they have time and time again this year. They should be 6-3 or 7-2. I mean, that should be their record. It's not, but that's what it should be. And that's why they are right now, as we speak, 1.5-point favorites in the game at Arizona this week, and an important game. And one where the Jets have got to be disciplined on defense and have to be very conscious of the running ability of the quarterback and the mobility of the quarterback. It's critical that they're very, very aware of that and on the perimeter where they've had so much trouble this year. Bills at Colts. Flacco will start at quarterback, despite the fact the Colts did not move the ball last week. Colts are in that midst of the very tough part of the schedule. They close with 4 or 5 winnable games, but they're in the rough part of the schedule now. They have to eke out a win in one of these games. We'll see if they can do it this week to the Bills. Pats and Bears. Bears have lost a couple straight. This is a big game for them, one to get them back on the right side. You would expect that to be the case. Broncos now facing tougher competition. Get the Chiefs this week, who are 8-0. Denver at 5-4 at Kansas City. Knicks will have trouble against that Kansas City defense, which continues. Plus, Hopkins will be a bigger and bigger and bigger factor for the Chiefs going forward. Falcons and Saints. Falcons at 6-3 have a very workable schedule the rest of the way. Remember, this is a bitter rivalry, this game. People don't understand how big the rivalry is between the Falcons and the Saints. Plus, Saints have the new coach, so you expect to get a little lift out of that. And they have some of their offensive weapons coming back now, including Carr's back. So don't be surprised this game's close. I would think this could be a very dangerous spot for the Falcons, who are coming off a win against the Cowboys. Niners and Bucks. Bucks facing the tougher part of their schedule, lost a tough game where they played well against the Chiefs the other night. Now they get the Niners. McCaffrey back. Baker Mayfield has 23 touchdown passes this year. Heck of a year. But he's without Godwin and he's without Evans. He needs the backups to play well. And they don't have much defense. And now McCaffrey's back. So the Niners think they can get on a roll now at 4-4 with McCaffrey back in the lineup. Interesting game. Steelers at 6-2 against 7-2 Washington. Both teams on winning streaks. Daniels, who has really, for a young quarterback, been unbelievably mistake-proof. When do you see a young quarterback, even when they're flamboyantly good, not make mistakes? This guy is a master at converting third downs, at converting fourth downs, keeping the play alive with his legs, getting the ball to the right spot, not throwing into 2 interceptions on the season. I mean, and his running ability and his arm. He's banged up a little bit with the ribs. This is a tough spot against the Steelers defense. This is a big game. Washington wins this game. Washington has this game this week, and then next week they play Philly on Thursday night. In what will be a huge first of 2 games between those 2 teams. That game will be in Philly on Thursday night. So a very big 5 days. Pittsburgh and then Philly. Very big 5 days for the Commanders. Vikings against the Jags. Vikings at 6-2. Jags stumbling along. Will be without Trevor Lawrence this week. He's out with a shoulder injury. Jones will quarterback the Jags. Titans and Chargers. Chargers are 5-3, and you know what? Two things really jump out at you about the Chargers. Number one, Dobbins has had a really great comeback year. He's always been a favorite of mine, and he's come back and played very well. Number two, Chargers only allow 12 points a game. They haven't scored prolifically this year, but they've allowed 12 points a game. They've only allowed 20 points once this year, and that was the Steelers getting 20. That's it. The defense has been very good week after week. I would expect another matter of fact win from them today, which would this Sunday, which would make them 6-3. Eagles are playing much better. They get the Cowboys. No Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush is at quarterback. Cowboys just don't match up with the Eagles right now. Eagles are playing better. Their quarterback's playing better. The team is playing better. Barkley's having a huge season. The Eagles are going to battle Washington for the division title. The question is, do the Cowboys make a move at head coach after the season? And is that move Bill Belichick? That's the question. Sunday night, the Lions, right now, quite possibly the best team in the league, even though the Chiefs are undefeated. Maybe playing better than anybody in the league, playing explosively good on offense behind that great offensive line. Their quarterback playing superbly. Goff is throwing 4 interceptions and he's completing 75% of his passes, and he's deadly if you blitz him. Texans, they've been a little sporadic. Plus, their quarterback's been a little down in recent weeks. He hasn't played as well. They're explosive. They're going to face a Lion team that's really explosive. Interesting game, but the Lions are red hot right now. Really, if you look at it week after week, the Lions just keep putting up big numbers week after week after week. They continue to do it. Just impressive overall numbers. They really do. 47 on the Cowboys, 31 on Minnesota, 52 on Tennessee. Beat Green Bay by 10 in Green Bay in the rain last week. Very impressive for the Lions. Very, very impressive. 42, 47, 31, 52. Only 24 last week because they played in very inclement conditions. That's the only reason they didn't break 30 again. They have a juggernaut going right now. They really do. They're running the ball. They're moving the ball. They're the number one offense in the league. They're scoring 32 points a game. They're winning. Their average margin of victory is over 2 touchdowns. They're just anything you look at right now. The Lions are impressive. They're explosive. They're impressive. They can run it down your throat. They can beat you with speed. They can beat you with the pass. They can beat you with the run. They have the best offensive line in the league. They are right now a team that is steaming towards a Super Bowl. And then Monday night, the Dolphins and the Rams. The Rams are 4-4 and thinking they're going to the playoffs. And you know what? They just might be. They're well coached. And now, as long as Stafford has a running back and 2 wide receivers like he has, he's very, very dangerous. As that defense starts to pick it up and get a little better, no-name guys starting to step up and step up and step up and step up. And the Rams are going to be there the rest of the way because that's what the Rams do. As I said, buys for the Packers, for the Browns, for the Raiders, for the Seahawks in week number 10. Emails, Mike Francesa podcast at gmail.com. Okay. Let's see what's on your mind. First, let me tell you, though, about the Squares game, which we do. Players can play same-game parlays on college football and NFL games to earn Squares. The exclusive Squares game offers additional chances at profit boosts, bonus bets, and you know what? A whole bundle of $10,000 jackpots. So check out the Squares promotion. Go download the BetRivers app. Go to BetRivers.com. Download the BetRivers app, which will have all of your wagering needs, and play the Squares game, which is a part of anything you do once you play the same game parlays on the NFL or on college football. As I said, emails, Mike Francesa podcast at gmail.com. All right, let's see what's going on. Rick, assuming Daniel Jones is not the Giants' starting quarterback next season, can you see him landing a role anywhere in the league as a starter? Yes, I could. Listen, there are worse quarterbacks starting in the NFL than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is not a bad quarterback. He is a mediocre quarterback. He has some strengths, he has some weaknesses. He is not an upper echelon quarterback. He is not a difference maker at quarterback, and that's what the Giants need. They need someone to lift their franchise, and he is incapable of doing that. Wilson, why would the Giants not pursue Belichick? Um, Fair question. I can think of a couple of reasons. Number one, the Giants ownership is a partnership between the Maras and the Tisches. The Tisches have no relationship to Belichick. Remember, they bought the team when Belichick was already out of the franchise. They have no relation with him. John Mara has a very strong relationship with Belichick. It goes way back. Belichick has a strong relationship and loves the Giants deeply. That's where he started. That's where he won his first rings, the whole thing. As a defensive coordinator, learned his trade under Parcells there, etc. We know that. It's a big part of his history. But he's going to want a lot of money and a lot of control. And I don't think the Giants want to give that, number one. Number two, I think the Giants were hoping for some stability and to keep the guys they have now. Although I just don't understand the Giants. See, the Giants have forgotten how to act like the Giants. Hard Knocks was a perfect example. As I said to you in the spring, when would the Giants ever act the way they acted in Hard Knocks? They came off like a laughing stock around the league with the way they acted on Hard Knocks. They received ridicule in a lot of places for that, and deservedly so. They threw their quarterback under the bus on the show. I mean, I just didn't understand it. In the old days, they would never do a show like that, to be honest with you. Um, they've lost their way. Now, would I rule out Belichick 100% for the Giants? No. Would I make it a long shot? I'd make it a very, very long shot. I would make the two favorites. With Philly doing well, I would make the two favorites the Cowboys and Jacksonville. Do not rule out Jacksonville as being a big possibility. This is Billy. Do you think Juan Soto to the Mets is basically a foregone conclusion? I don't know that. I know that Boris and Soto are going to be open to the highest bidder. I think the Yankees know that they have to make a major, major effort. So if Soto will accept even money, if all he's asking the Yankees to do is match, not exceed, then I believe the Yankees will do what they have to do to keep him. I think they will go to any extreme to keep him salary-wise. They'll make it up elsewhere. They'll make it up on the fringes. They'll make it up by going with more kids in certain spots. But they know they have to pay him. They know how important it is to keep him. But there is a possibility here that not that Cohen will poison pill it in such a way that the Giants can't, that the Yankees can't match, but in a way that it is presented, Cohen will go an exorbitant amount of money. Whatever money they want, they'll get, and maybe he'll even exceed it. But I think the question is, in the private meetings that Soto will have with Cohen, Cohen is one of the major financial minds in this country. He is a proven kingmaker as far as financial wealth goes. He is one of the richest men in the country. If he says to Soto, and he's 26 years old, listen, I not only want you to come in a partnership and will pay you to play for my Mets, but I will make sure that I make you richer than your wildest dreams. Cohen has the ability to do that. Hal is not going to offer that. Cohen can offer that. And that may appeal to Soto. So I don't think the Yankees will go cheap here. I think if they are asked to, if Soto presents to the Yankees, hey, all you have to do is match this offer that I've gotten from Team X, whether it's the Mets or somebody else, and you're in, then I think the Yankees will match. No matter what the number is, I think they'll swallow it and they'll take it. I don't think they have the ability, though, to provide the extra added value stuff that a Cone can give them. I would be surprised if the Dodgers were serious players here. There's been talk they would be. Everyone expects Toronto to be. I don't think they'll be a player. I think he'll be in New York in one place or the other. I expect the Yankees will not back down from a very big offer here. They know the importance of signing him. The Yankees know that they need him, and they also know he's 26 years old, so they can give him a 10-year contract. The age plays dramatically into this. He's going to get what he wants. And if Cone doesn't want to get beat on this deal, he probably won't get beat. But what that means is, I don't know. I don't know what that added incentive is that gets him over the top. But it could be something like I just said. He does have the ability to make him, not rich, but just insanely rich. Listen, Soto's not going to be wanting for anything ever. We understand that. He's in, a different category. But there's money, and there's more money, and there's more money, and what do people want when they have a lot? Usually, they want more. They don't want a figure; they want more. Whatever the figure is, they want more. And it sounds like he's open to the highest bidder. So, does this make it a tough negotiation for the Yankees? Yeah, it does, because you're dealing with not only a guy who is exceedingly wealthy, but you're dealing with a guy who knows how to make additional wealth and has a track record of making additional wealth, of creating wealth. And that's hard to deal with. So you have to wait and see how this plays out. Sounds like he's going to be amazing. I think he understands where he's going here. The Yankees and the Mets with George and Fred, they were very, very respectful and conscious of the other team's feelings. They did not ever go out to injure the other team. Here, that is going to be abandoned. Chris, Aaron Rodgers won only one Super Bowl. Okay. Hey, there's great quarterbacks who never won any Super Bowls. So what's the point? And now he's fizzling out with the Jets. He's a great player, but his career is ultimately disappointing. Yeah, it's just a foolish statement. I mean, let's be honest. Super Bowls are a matter of right place, right time. Hard to win. And most of the time, if you win more than one, it's usually because the quarterback not only is in the right place, he also has a defense to back him up. Montana had a defense to back him up, San Francisco. Terry Bradshaw's first two Super Bowls were won with the defense. The last two, he won on offense. All right. Mahomes has gotten great lifts from the Kansas City defense. Tom Brady won Super Bowls where he didn't put up any points in this. He had a couple of Super Bowls where he won without putting up any offensive numbers at all. He beat the Rams. He beat the Rams he beat the St. Louis Rams and the LA Rams, and he beat both of them without doing anything offensively in either game. So to say that is silly. Go look at his postseason numbers. Go look at how many touchdown passes he threw versus how many interceptions he threw. Look Look what his record is when the team played well defensively. To say Rodgers' career is a disappointment is just stupid. I mean, I hate to tell you, but it's just a silly thing to say. Okay. I mean, there's not many, there's a lot of guys who, Dan Marino didn't win any Super Bowls. Dan Faust didn't win any Super Bowls. Franz Hawkins didn't win any Super Bowls. Jim Kelly didn't win any Super Bowls. So only winning one is not actually something you discredit. Michael, could Reed, Mahomes eclipse Belichick, Brady? Have they already? No, they haven't. Could they? I never thought somebody would be able to put together the number of Super Bowls that Brady and Belichick did. Maybe Reed and Mahomes could. I mean, they've done an amazing job. I can remember, and if you were listening to my program and my program when it was me and the program when it was Dog and myself, what a staunch defender I was of Andy Reid when people used to clobber him for not being able to win the big game. Those things change. I had to defend Jay Wright under the same circumstances. I had to defend Andy Reid under the same circumstances. Look where they both wound up. You judge a guy's career when his career is over, not in the middle of it. And the best thing that ever happened to the Kansas City Chiefs was the Eagles cutting Andy Reid loose. They went out and 2 hours later had a head coach, and look what it's meant to them. They've become a dynasty. I don't know that they can catch those two. Both of teams' performances, both coach quarterback performances. Lombardi's star is amazing. Pre-Super Bowl and Super Bowl. Belichick, Brady is amazing. And Reid and Mahomes is amazing. That's all there is to it. I mean, all three of them are amazing. And they're all historic. There's no question about it. And that's the best way to look at it. Whether they get as many as the Pats, they still have some work to do. A pretty good amount of work to do. But you never know. You never know. He's young. I think Andy stays for a while because I think Andy loves coaching. I don't think Andy would want to do anything else. I think he loves coaching football. And his players love him. And he loves the sport. And you can tell he's having the time of his life. You really can. And his team continues to perform year after year. And realize, too, how perfect everything is in place. Andy, Mahomes, Spags as a defensive coordinator, twice a failed head coach, but a guy who's built a legacy, an incredible legacy as a defensive coordinator. That is who he is. And he will be regarded as one of the great defensive coordinators, defensive minds in the history of this game, because look how many Super Bowls he will have won as a defensive coordinator. And he couldn't win it all as a head coach. Just like Bill Arnsparger was a terrible head coach. Norv Turner, conversely, on the offensive side, superb, ran the purity and the excellence of the Cowboy attack, the Cowboy dynasty. They ran two plays on offense. They ran the lead draw all day. That was it. They just performed, and they had great talent. and he believed in taking shots. And he had the strong arm quarterback and the wide receiver and the targets and the tight ends and the secondary receiver and the offensive line and everything and the running back to get it done. That team had everything you could want. It had the accuracy of Aikman. It had the explosiveness of the wide receivers. It had a sure-handed tight end who was, without question, his safety valve. You had an incredibly durable, solid, dependable running back in Emmitt Smith. And you had all-world offensive linemen. That was as good an offense as you'll ever find. I mean, it was loaded with talent, absolutely loaded. And Norv did a great job running it. He was a bad head coach. Why? Because he was a nice guy. He wasn't tough enough to be a head coach. Some guys aren't. Some guys aren't. They don't fit that job. But they're tremendous coordinators. And once they realize that they're successful in that role, you know what? They have great careers there. I mean, Spags is being paid incredibly well. He gets the respect of the entire league. And year after year, his defense produces on an incredible level. And all he does is play in big games. And right now, his team is undefeated, looking to win another Super Bowl. It's finding your spot. You found his spot. And not everybody's spot is as a head coach. Now, we'll see you Sunday after the Giants, which will be a game that starts at 9:30. So right around 1 o'clock, we'll be ready with the Giants. And the Giants, there will be heck to pay if they don't beat the Panthers. And then the Jets with a big one. Well, they're all big because they can't lose anymore. They can't lose anymore. And we don't count them out until they lose another one. But they're right now, as long as they keep that number at 6, they're alive. Let's see them keep it at 6. This week, Arizona. Keep it at 6 is basically the Jets' mantra. Keep that loss column at 6. Week after week after week, keep it at 6. To tell you one thing, though, that we saw in the second half of that game against Houston, we saw the first real glimpses, and even more than glimpses, of Aaron Rodgers. 8 became 12 again. Let's see how he plays this week. We'll see you later.